Hello summoners, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to talk about a tier list update for the month of February. And I know I'm a little bit late to the party, like Feb is almost over at this point, but the good thing about that is that we can actually talk about both the characters released this month, Super Skrull and Psychoman, so that is kind of cool. And we'll also be talking about all the 4 buffs: Moleman, Kingpin, Yellow Jacket and Terrax. And I have made some changes since the last tier list update based on feedback and also my experience, like because since I have started creating content, like I make a video every single day and usually on different characters, so I am able to play around with more characters with some cool synergies and stuff. I also have access to the content creator beta, which is why I am able to rank some cool characters like Black Bolt and test them out with synergies and stuff like Labyrinth or Abyss. So by the way, in this tier list, like anything which is in italics, it means that they are the characters who depend on some synergies, and without those synergies they will not be in that category, like because otherwise there are a lot of characters who benefit from synergy. Almost all the characters benefit, like for a great example is Medusa. She benefits a ton from the Black Bolt synergy in terms of a damage output, but at the same time, even without it, I think she is as good as the other characters in this list in her particular tier. But that could not be said for a character like, let's say like Cable, because without Apocalypse he will probably be in buff please category. Like he is the biggest difference with or without synergy. And you can say the same for Storm, because as a horseman she is absolutely ridiculous. There's a ton of shock damage. You can say that for a character like Wolverine, again with as a horseman or without a horseman there's a huge difference. OG Abomination with the Red Guardian synergy. Who else? Thing with his synergy, like even without Thing is kind of an exception, because even without his synergy he's a very solid character, and I think he is better than these 4 for the most part. But at the same time he's not as good as the characters in his current tier without his synergies, so he's kind of in between. But with synergies obviously he has this ridiculous damage output and an amazing synergy and an amazing like safety net with the champion synergy and the Heimdall synergy at the end to save you. And on top of that, like he already has great prestige, he's great defender. If you have him awakened, the protection is an amazing ability to have. You have the stagger on the SP2 plus he's kind of tanky even generally speaking, plus he has some unique immunities going for him, so there is a lot of stuff Thing can do. But now let's talk about the 2 new characters. And by the way, I did consider, even last time I said that I am considering adding characters to the legendary category, but I do think like Quake and Ghost, there's a high skill cap involved, but if played correctly they are just miles ahead of any other character. But if I had to say like who are the 2-3 characters close to this, I say Colossus with synergies, Doctor Doom generally, and maybe Corvus Glaive with suicide masteries, or Nick Fury in a normal non-bleed immune matchup would be contenders for the legendary category, offensively speaking. Overall I'd say if we're talking about desirability in the game, then Doctor Doom is probably the most desired 6-star, because is the complete package. He doesn't need to be awakened, but if he is awakened then he has extremely high prestige. You can say the same thing about signature stones, like he doesn't need them, but even if you give them first of all prestige, and you can cheese some stuff if the opponents are consistently getting some buffs. And he's a great defender, he's great on offense, just like there is no area where Doctor Doom is not good. So that is why he's a very desirable character. But if you're strictly talking about offensive use, and we're not talking about defense, prestige and stuff like that, or the fact that like let's say there are some characters who without being awakened would not be in the tier they are in, but we are assuming that they are awakened, they are at a signature level, and you do know how to play them. But yeah, so let's talk about the 2 new characters now. So first of all, the first character introduced this month was Psychoman, and I'm not a huge fan. I was able to play around with him because I am the content creator program, and this guy he doesn't hit very hard. He has a lot of use. The power control is amazing on this. Like there is just so much control, especially if you're good at intercepting. You can basically shut down the opponent's power throughout the fight. Which is very powerful ability to have, but at the same time the damage is just so bad. It does have a damage rotation, and with 2 Furies his damage output is not terrible, but you can't have both. Like if you are going for the 2 Fury, then you're missing out on the power control, and like with 2 Furies he has average damage output, so like doesn't make sense. I don't think people will be using him. Even in power control we have characters like Magic or Doctor Doom. I think they're better even in power control, like easier, because the thing with Psychoman is you are kind of relying on AI. If the AI is a little bit defensive, then there have been situations where you're not back to 2 bars of power, and the opponent like they will basically, after you launch your SP2, they are unable to use their special. They still have the power, it's not like a power lock or power drain, but they can't use the special attack. So if you can spam heavy attacks, get some intercepts going, then you can get back to 2 bars of power, launch another unblockable special 2, and again not let them gain any power, and just keep doing that. But if the AI is a little bit aggressive, you can't launch your heavy attack straight away, then there are situations where they will be able to use a special attack again, whereas like with Magic, once you lock them down, for the most part, if they don't shrug off the power lock, you should be good to go. But the second character that was released this month, I like him a little bit better. He has really cool animations, 10 out of 10 animations by Super Skrull. He's very fun to play, very smooth character, and his damage output, I am sure that a lot of people are not a fan of his damage, but it's not as bad as it looks. He's a very complicated character. You have to time a lot of stuff, and even in my video I didn't do it properly, but I was able to take down Labyrinth of Legends Starlord, which is a 3.3 million fight, and some people commented like he is another Ebony Maw, and I'm not sure if Ebony Maw can take Labyrinth Starlord like that. Is 3.3 million health, and his average damage output was like average damage per hit came out to be like 6,500 for rank 3 6 star. Again, not amazing, but there is a certain period of time in a fight where you time the incinerates right, and you are just melting away the opponent. So he is kind of a burst damage character for a very short period of time, and he does bring in like shock immunity and incinerate immunity, which is definitely a nice set to have, and overall like he's a very fun character to play. So I think he will be used in some situations in the future for sure. But now let's talk about the 4 buffs. So my favorite one is definitely Moleman. I think it's the strongest buff, and if you disagree, do let me know in the comment section. But Moleman, he's my first rank 3 6 star ever. He's not even awakened, and he still has incredible amount of damage output. Like, go for, if you're running Suicide Masteries, all you have to do is launch 1 heavy attack. You have 6 frenzy like monster mass, and just block a hit and you frenzy. Huge thing with Moleman, and something that is a big factor why Quake and Ghost gets their own tier is the fact that you can get opening on demand. You don't have to, like if it is a star immune matchup, if you are dealing with stuff like Limber or a character where you can't parry them, then what do? Like, you either bait heavy attack or you intercept, that is, or you bait a special attack. Like 3 common ways to get an opening. But with Ghost you can phase, with Quake you can just do your thing in the corner, and with Moleman you can take a blocked hit if you are frenzy and it will be unstoppable. You can counter the opponent. That is a huge thing, and it's not as powerful in these two because you are taking some block damage, but for most part it is very useful. And where is Moleman? Yeah, it's very useful, and he also is amazing for the Cavalier difficulty skill chapter because he just gains 10 furies and then he just absolutely crushes the opponents even without frenzy. And he's great for any evade, auto block kind of character, amazing Modok counter. So there is a lot of stuff he can do. He can shrug off debuffs at the start of the fight. He can't shrug them off once he is in the frenzy phase, which is kind of sad, but still very powerful character. And he has some immunities as well. He has shock on the SP1, unblockable SP2, very good character in my opinion. And then moving on, we have Kingpin, another solid character. He doesn't crit as much, but when he does crit, he crits really hard, and his damage output is actually pretty decent right now. He always had kind of utility with his SP1 and the defensive ability reduction, and I'd say like he is also italic. Even without synergies, I would probably place him somewhere around here, but the Mr. Sinister synergy is just so extremely powerful. It makes him an amazing power control character, and also you can really be really aggressive because of it and gain a lot of furies from the heavy attack and stuff. So like if you are using Kingpin, I would probably use Mr. Sinister in the team as well. And then we have Terrax. So I haven't played a ton with Terrax, but I do have a 5-star one. I tested him out at rank 5 as a 5-star, and his damage output is pretty good. He has a lot of armor breaks, and unlike earlier, the armor breaks actually make a huge impact. He has this aura phase after the SP2, and during that phase he hits really hard, and there is like a certain, he's not the easiest character to play. Like if you use your heavy attack to cut the aura, you have a lot of power that way, you can throw a lot of specials, and his damage output is pretty respectable. He always had utility and a pretty strong base kit, so I think he's a very strong character. He might actually get an upgrade sometime in the future. I haven't seen too much gameplay of him like in endgame content. Of course, after his buff everyone did make a video on him, but I still haven't seen him being used in stuff like Alliance War or Alliance Quest or Act 7. So let's see, and we might be giving him a promotion. Speaking of promotions, I was considering taking up Professor X because I know he's very good, but at the same time, another thing that I want to talk about is that with tier list is not just about the tier, because mutant class is just so strong. Like for example, Iceman, X23, Rogue, Old Man Logan, all 4 are very good characters, probably the best in this particular tier. But at the same time, because mutant resources are so rare, because there are so many good mutants, I have to consider that also. Otherwise, like this, you can already see it is a huge, there are a lot of mutants here, probably more than 10. Let's see. I'm not sure. Does it show how many did we select? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10. So there are a lot of mutants here, but you can make a case for Professor X or Havoc to be in this category. I did upgrade Apocalypse because I don't think offensively he's as good as these characters, but because he makes a huge impact on the rest of the team. And I have seen people bring him in stuff like Alliance War, bring in Cable, or a character like Gambit could be very effective because he gets the perfect block. So I think Apocalypse, because he makes such a big impact on your roster, is worthy of being in this tier. But offensively, just by himself, without the Strife synergy, I don't think he is as good as the other characters in this particular tier, offensively speaking. And then moving on to the 4th buff of the month is Yellow Jacket. A little bit disappointing, more because it was supposed to be almost an overhaul. They specifically said that it's almost an overhaul, and the damage output is not great, but he does have more uses than he had earlier, and he's a pretty decent character. I haven't played around with him too much. I have seen a lot of videos where you would want to reverse the regeneration of the opponent, so he is definitely useful there, but overall not the strongest buff we've seen. And other than that, let me quickly see if first of all let me scroll down, because there are some characters in these categories which you can't see. So I upgraded Tigra after my second last video. I did a damage comparison between Tigra and Dr. Doom, if you haven't seen that, and I found like Tigra has the highest Mystic DPS in the game, and like maybe Longshot or Symbiote Supreme in a very buff heavy fight, but Tigra also brings in a lot of utility. And I honestly think in a year or 2 from now, when people are really good with her, she might have a shot of being here, because when she came out, people said like she is a character which has a skill cap, very high skill cap, kind of like Quake and Gold, but you don't get enough out of it. But I think lately I have been seeing, like, we had Thing bosses in almost every single fight with Stubborn, every single war with Stubborn, and she is one of the best, if not the best Thing counter. And then we also had a lot of Apocalypse bosses. She's amazing for that. like Map 7 Apocalypse Boss or Alliance War. Even with Protect, I've seen her solo it. So she's a very powerful character, and I have been seeing some amazing gameplay lately. So I think she deserved it. I took Simba Supreme 1 tier back, then brought him back because I think he is a very powerful character. I actually had Doom and Simba Supreme both when I did my Abyss initial run, and I benched Dr. Doom and took in Simba Supreme because he is, I think, better in stuff like Abyss of Legends, especially for the easy path. Overall, Dr. Doom might be better, but if the opponent is not immune to bleed and if they have a lot of buffs, then Simba Supreme is undoubtedly a very powerful character. And I think that's it with the changes. Like, I haven't made too many. So Emma Frost, I kind of wanted to promote her 1 tier, but again, mutant resources thing comes in, because I do think that the characters above her are better than her, which is the main way. Like, when I look at my tier list, I just see by the way, I wanted to talk about this because this is interesting. I made a video on Angela, and I thought that I placed her here, but I actually have her in the B+ tier. And I think she is, I don't think anyone would say that she is worse than these characters. So I am actually very interested in the Angela buff to see what they do with her, because she is already a pretty decent character. And we will also be getting 2 overhauls, so hopefully some characters in this tier, buff please tier, it could definitely use some upgrades, big upgrades, hopefully good ones. And that is basically going to do it for this one. Let me scroll down once again so that you see all the characters. I have excluded the very rare characters like Gold Pool or Platinum Pool or the Labyrinth Ultron, even though Labyrinth Ultron at this point is not that rare, but he's not that good anyways. And also Wolverine and Weapon X, because he's actually very good. Like, between the trophy characters, he's definitely the best one. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Like this video, share with your alliance, and stay safe. Bye bye. Have a good one.